So I woke up this morning and I was scrolling Twitter, which you guys know I do way too often, but I came across a story that is really upsetting. Donald Ray Lance and Jean Whitefeather were arrested after a wellness check led to the discovery of two of the couple's 5 adopted black children living locked in a barn. The children had no means to exit the barn on their own, no running water, no bathroom facilities, and no food. The children said they were forced to sleep on the concrete floor of the barn without any mattress or padding. The children had open sores on their bare feet and that the children were dirty and smelled of body odor. The indictment is for human rights violations for the adopted children who were black, were specifically targeted by the couple, and forced to work because of their race. And if I'm being honest with you, I never considered that somebody racist would go and adopt black kids to then utilize like slave labor and give them absolutely nothing. And what's even crazier to me is that people think that they're gonna get away with this. At some point, the kids are gonna grow up. At some point, questions are gonna be asked. You can't just kill them off and just bury them all in the backyard. Like, it just doesn't make any sense that somebody thinks that they'll actually get away with this shit. But apparently that's why this happened, I guess. So this was the clip that came along with that tweet.
Lance and Whitefeather kept motion-activated Arlo cameras on the children, one in the shed on the 14-year-old boy and 16-year-old girl, and one in a room upstairs with no bed, only a tarp floor that stayed on the 9-year-old girl and 11-year-old boy. The video showed a daily routine of waking up early and being forced to stand with hands on head, unable to change or shower, receiving only peanut butter sandwiches to eat before going back to bed on the floor. In the shed, the teens used a camper toilet, holding a sheet up for each other to shield the other from the camera. Lieutenant Pyle said she first began hearing about this in August before the shed discovery, but testified could never quite get a hold of a CPS worker to follow up.
There was a contact made with a worker once, but there was no further contact to coordinate going and making a visit to the residence together.
The jury saw days of video the Arlo cameras saved, including the moments deputies busted in the door on the shed on October 2nd.
You're not in trouble. You're okay.
The children were turned over to Child Protective Services, and when Lance and Whitefeather got back with 2 of the children that night, they were later arrested. But that was just the beginning of their charges and the investigation. On Friday, the jury got an inside look at Whitefeather's cell phone. This included text messages between she and Lance where they referred to the kids as monkeys and pigs. Often Lance would describe physical punishment, where he said he, quote, knocked one of them. We saw one text where Lance said, quote, somebody didn't say thank you, and his sandwiches disappeared. We also saw more video from Whitefeather's phone from their time in Washington that also showed yelling and physical abuse from Lance.
Seeing some shit like this just absolutely disgusts me. All kids deserve to grow up and have a loving childhood, fun, friends, food, like just a healthy environment for them to evolve in, because like they are literally our future. Like, I don't understand why anybody has the mentality to be able to do some shit like this to kids. You should be in jail for the rest of your life or get the death penalty. In all honesty, we need to just get you out of here. It's unfortunate that both methods use a lot of tax dollars, because that shouldn't even be the case. We should just walk them around out back and just dispose of the garbage. That's all we need to do. And then I started to wonder, like, was it just because of the slave labor? Like, they just wanted these kids to do shit for them? Or was there something else that they were getting out of it? And it seems like there was.
A finance expert from the West Virginia Fusion Center, Alyssa Ledbetter, also took the stand on Friday. She broke down the adoption payments Whitefeather and Lance received from Minnesota. She said in total of what they analyzed from 2019 to 2023, the two received about $318,000 in adoption support payments, but she testified this didn't tell the whole story.
Well, the assistance began in June of 2018, and I only had from June of 2019 to November of 2023. So altogether, we're missing about 18 months.
Now, obviously, I have no experience with adopting kids. I don't have any kids. Again, I don't plan on having any kids. But anybody that's adopted kids, is this a real thing where they just send you an insane amount of money for support because you adopted kids? And I assume because they adopted 5 of them, they were getting a lot of money, because it seems like they got over $300,000 in just a few years of having these kids. So I get why people probably adopt kids now. They might get a whole bunch of money, but doing what they did is one of the dirtiest, most foul things that I have ever personally come across. And it's equally sad to know that CPS even visited them and spoke with the kids. But a lot of times the kids are scared. They don't know how the law works. They don't understand how life works yet. They don't know that if we speak up right now, they will take us out of this situation and save us. They might tell us that, but we don't know if it's true, and we know they can hear us, and we know what that punishment is like. So we're going to avoid saying anything that's going to incriminate them. We're going to say we're happy and everything is good. And that's pretty much what ended up happening.
All of this leading up to the most harrowing testimony so far on Friday afternoon from someone who lived it. We are not allowed to film or record the victims who will testify in this case, but we're in the room as the teen girl, now 18, but 16 at the time, shared what her life was like both in Washington State and in Sissonville. She said life progressively got worse with White Feather and Lance once they moved to the ranch in Washington in 2019. This is when the outdoor labor began, she said, and the physical punishments that included hits from a PVC pipe. While under a child services investigation there in Washington, eventually they moved to Sissonville, but she did not know why. She talked about how CBS was called soon after they arrived in West Virginia, and she detailed a visit from a worker who stayed on the porch and talked to them through the screen door. The teen testified she was not honest with CPS because Lance could hear her from where she was standing. Eventually, she and her teen brother, who has several mental health disorders, were locked in a shed in August of 2023. She said she went without a shower for 2 months and never changed clothes. She went from sleeping on a mattress to the floor with a sleeping bag. Her brother slept on the concrete floor with only cardboard at his head. She said she was forced to be his babysitter, but testified he was never the dangerous, violent kid that Lance and White Feather made him out to be. She recalled the use of physical violence, pepper spray, and racial slurs from Lance and White Feather. She recalled also being scared when police arrived at the shed, worried that she would say something to upset White Feather. Some of her more emotional moments came during cross-examination by White Feather's attorney, Mark Plants. At one point, he referred to White Feather as her mother, and she quickly corrected him. He questioned why some of her interviews before this contradicted what she said on the stand, but when Tuck asked her why she felt comfortable telling the truth now, she said, "Because I know I won't have to go back to that."
So thankfully they've been caught, and obviously the kids are no longer in their custody, but the trauma that they receive from these two people is something they're going to be dealing with for the rest of their lives. They're going to have PTSD and not be trusting of anybody. Some of them are still young, and they're going to be in custody of other people. And the question is, how do you trust them? How do you trust anybody when the people that you trusted initially and that you thought were going to be good, and the people where you got adopted from were probably telling you, yo, they're a nice family, they're going to take care of you, and that's how it turned out. Like, that's going to ruin your ability to look at anybody and think, I can trust this person. And that's going to go into adulthood. That's going to go into their relationships, their friendships. Like, this kind of shit ruins your entire life. There's going to be a lot of therapy needed, and it's just sad to see, because these kids could have had such a bright future. You never know what person is going to accomplish what in life. For all we know, one of these kids had the potential to go on and do some amazing shit. And it doesn't mean that they still can't, but the obstacles in front of them now and the trauma that they're bringing with them and all that baggage is going to make it that much harder. And you like limit our ability to grow as a people, as a humanity, because you're doing shit like this to the next future generation. You're doing shit like this to the people that are going to take the reins at some point and bring us to the next step. And yeah, there's billions and billions of us, but that doesn't mean that this is okay. Like, this is the craziest shit ever. I never even considered that somebody would do something like this because they were racist and take black kids and make them their slave. It never crossed my mind. I never thought that I would ever come across a video like this that we'd have to talk about, but here we are today. So just be better. I don't think anybody that's watching this video would ever do anything like that. So I'm not specifically talking to you guys, but just in general, just be better to everybody around you, and watch out for shit like this. If you see something that looks fishy, doesn't seem right, or you think something weird is going on, it doesn't hurt to get that shit checked out. Investigate it, have somebody call the cop, whatever it is. Just make sure everybody's okay, because this bothered me today. I'm gonna be honest with you, but just wanted to talk about that. Let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you guys. I will catch you in the next one, homies.